So today we're going to be talking about persuasive speaking. We're going to go over these notes, but a lot of the information that I do want you to be aware of is in your book. So I do want to make sure that you go and look at some of these examples in your book for further explanation. We're going to talk about persuasion versus manipulation, types of proofs, ethos, pathos, and logos, making connections, the process of reasoning, making types of arguments, when reasons go bad are fallacies, dealing with counter arguments. Aristotle felt like in order to really persuade anyone, you have to go to where they are hit the hardest. So that's ethos, pathos, logos, and some of us it's a combination. So we're going to talk about those three things next. So ethos is the ethics of the speaker, the credibility of the speaker. So when you're listening to someone and someone's trying to persuade you or you're trying to persuade them, these are the things they want. You want to make sure that the speaker has good judgment. It's someone with common sense, that they are a person of excellence, that you perceive this person as virtuous, and that kind of helps to make you want to follow what they're saying. It's someone that has goodwill, that they show you that they care. They're only persuading you about this topic because they care about you and they truly feel it's best. And they also want you to know how important the topic is. It's very hard to persuade someone if they don't feel like the topic's important. So a good ethical speaker helps that. Helps to make sure that the audience sees the importance of the topic. Pathos is positive. Pathos is the emotional appeal of the speaker, and a speaker can do that in positive ways or negative ways. So sometimes a speaker may do that through sympathy, empowerment, call to action, or nobility. So it gets emotion out of you, but it's a positive emotion. It's something that tells you, maybe it's a speech about voting, and it talks about how a small number of people can make big change, and it gives you an empowering message. So that can be pathos. Pathos can also bring about negative emotions. It brings about fear appeals. If you don't make these changes, this could be what happens. It identifies a threat in your life. It frames the situation in a way to really draw on emotions and elicit emotions in you. And it can also cause for a call for action. Logos is providing logic and logical appeals to support your point. These are claims that are backed up by reason. They use reason to persuade an audience. Examples is they'll provide evidence and statistics to really support what they're saying, and they do it in a very well organized way so that it's easy for the speakers to follow. So to go back over those real quick, once again, we have our pathos, logos, and ethos. I want you to think about advertisements that you see on TV, and a lot of times this is what they're addressing. Ethos, the ethical credibility of the speaker. You may see commercials where the speaker, you have celebrity endorsements, and it's someone you trust and someone you agree with and that you would say are good, honorable individuals. So that's done by ethical appeal. You have pathetic appeal. Think of the ASPCA commercials that really pull at your heartstrings on the state of animals. You have logical appeals. You have commercials that talk about 4 out of 5 dentists recommend this toothpaste. And then you have a combination. So I'm thinking of some of the anti-smoking commercials that we have that creates a credibility of the speaker. You have the person that's there in the commercial whose lives have been impacted terribly by smoking. You have emotional appeal as they tell you what their everyday life is like. You have the logical appeal where they really break down and tell about the way that smoking has impacted their body medically. So it combines all of these things to really appeal to the audience. So next, let's talk about making connections, the process of reasoning. So there's a lot of these things that I do want you to look at in your book. The basic thing that I want to get across to you is that when you're giving a persuasive speech, you need to use the pathos, ethos, logos. But when you're really forming your logos and you've read a study, you've read a report, you've read an article about the topic that you're presenting, make sure that the conclusions you draw in the end are accurate. It's easy to pull quotes. It's easy to pull one specific statistic out of an article and draw a conclusion that isn't true. So make sure that the information that you're providing to your audience is the fact that you've studied the research provided to you, you've read it thoroughly, and that you believe, based on factual evidence, that this is what it's saying. Again, people often use their research incorrectly. They draw wrong conclusions. They present inaccurate information to their audience because they did not go through approaching their arguments and their statistics and their facts with reason. So forming those proper arguments are very important. And I want you to look at your book because there are examples provided of all the things that are listed here. There's a little more detail in your notes that kind of explain the type of arguments that I want you to review, and look at those examples in your book. But for us, what I want to make sure that you're doing is that you're using accurate information from accurate sources, and that you're drawing a conclusion that is clear and not something that you're stretching. The last thing I want to address is addressing counter arguments. When you're giving a persuasive presentation, know this, that oftentimes there are people in your audience that don't agree with what you're saying, and they're providing counter arguments in their mind. When you're giving a speech about a topic that you know there's a very clear opposing viewpoint, you know what the arguments are of the other side, take those big arguments that they use and address those. Say, I know that the opposing viewpoint for this believes these things, and this is why they believe it, and I understand that. However, based on my research and based on the information that I have found in my experiences, this is why I believe something differently. So you're addressing their arguments that they're making in their mind, and it also is respectful. It's acknowledging that you know that there's another side, and you understand why the other side believes what they do, but this is why you believe this way. Persuasive presentations and speeches can be a lot of fun, but they're also challenging. It gives you an opportunity to really express things that you strongly believe in, but you have to do it in a way that's supported, and many times we often just do that based on our passion and our thoughts, and not the support material. So it does challenge you to pull in the information to support what you're saying and really express to the audience your viewpoints and your beliefs.